I failed my driving test 10 times. In fact, at one point, I clipped a lorry and then turned into the oncoming traffic of a dual carriageway, and that's kind of where I stopped. Before then picking it up again years later. At the end of this poem, there's a certain moment where I crash into the cones yet again. So if for nothing else, you can look forward to that. When we were writing this poem together, we were thinking about this idea of essentially working between two languages, and two characters kind of evolved, who fell in love and jumped into the language together and then re-erupted out of it. So if you zone out, that's roughly where we are. Like I say, there are cones at the end.
Γράφουμε λέξεις μεταμεσονύκτιες, νησταγμένες ίσως, αλλά θαραλέες, ιστρογόνες και ορμητικές.
Words hold up their cards at the airport, are embraced by sentences who folded their thought, their letters into their pockets, like carrying midnights down the aisles of people along the train platform to one spot where they hope to find words. Or where was it now?
Στο αεροδρόμιο. Οι λέξεις στο αεροδρόμιο. Αγκαλιάζονται, περιτριγυρίζονται από προτάσεις που διπλώνουν ξανά και ξανά σκέψεις και γράμματα στις τσέπες τους. Ναι, είναι όντως σαν να μεταφέρουν τα μεσάνυχτα στους διαδρόμους των ανθρώπων κατά μήκος μιας αποβάθρας τρένων. Ίσως σε ένα σημείο όπου ήλπιζαν να βρουν λέξεις. Ή σε κάποιο γκρεμό, ή σε ρέμα. Συνηθίζουν να αφήνονται οι λέξεις στο έλεος του κάθε κόμματος, μιας τελείας ή κάποιων τυχοδιώκτων αποσιοποιητικών. Ψάχνονται, χάνονται. Σε φόντο με μπλε σκούρο πάντα. Η αλήθεια μοιάζει με επιστροφή, αλλά δεν είναι ακριβώς. Κάτι σαν αποστροφή. Όχι, σαν την απόστροφο που τρώει το πρώτο ή το τελευταίο γράμμα. Έτσι λένε ακούγονται καλύτερα οι λέξεις.
Picture a cliff. Now running down its neck, the slate pale water of a stream revealing the chert of its architecture. Then, above, is either a stunt pilot with nothing to lose, or a single propeller drone kicking back its tail to climb on a comma of air back on itself. We feel for her, that stunt pilot, that romantic dare, like seeing the needle turn beyond its limit, holding your breath and leaning into the controls for fury, for delight, for self-salvage, for the ripple of engine-juddering joy. We are in the world of the page, smelling the alkaline trail of petrol. The only way we hear the broken church organ note of the drone's engine is because out here, this silence is the silence only mechanical bird scarers know. The hiatus between pieces of punctuation and the soft, thin slot of ink of its home. They search for each other down the waterslide L's through the tunnel of O's between the consonantal ruins of the words and, met, lend, band, trend, panda, tendentious, foreground. The futuristic suspended double letters of F, tower, in the middle of the words buffet, buffer, buffalo, Hufflepuff. Now picture standing, barefoot, on the navy surface of a bouncy castle, one that is for some reason stuffed with rucksacks. So we need something to hold on to. What about these white staircase spindles and these black staircase spindles? So a whole forest of fucking spindles or spines. Spines. They are delightfully soft, but almost foamy spines, but very bendable. There are now so many that we have to try not to get them in our mouths as we move around because they are very substantial. If we sort of fold them down, we get quite a cool 70s carpet effect going. Look at this orange dusty boulder. It's as big as a portaloo. That's weird. It smells delicious. When I lick it, it tastes very familiar. Nutty, a bit fruity. Oh, it's a giant dry roasted peanut. These rucksacks under our feet, these aren't rucksacks at all. We seem to be on the back of a giant blue panda bear. And look at the metropolis of bamboo. Let's each take on an O of bamboo and jump through it.
Well, for some it's not bamboo, it's baboo. We still jump through the O. Sorry, did I interrupt?
We learned in the truth. The truth is making a comeback. We grow bigger. I don't quite feel like I know who I am, or how many people are speaking, or who owns what at this point. Please could I have that apostrophe? Thanks.
Don't want to make letters disappear. It's probably for the best. Some words are doomed to sink the next morning. They soften, deflate, forget, are forgotten. When a doomed word is forgotten, it means it becomes whisper, air, then a puff, a burst bubble. Whatever lives inside flies, and it is how the voice multiply. They mend, lend, bond, and sometimes become stunt pilots. Anyway, back at the airport story. Words walk to the car. There's a bottle of water next to you, said Words, and started driving Sentences. Sentences was quiet. Unlike most, Sentences like silence, even though this time the long pauses and the abstract hums felt heavier than usual. What was the point anyway, Sentences thought. There's no way we'll ever meet again, this city's immense. Say again?
Sentences standing in the light of the corner shop, the earlier rain forming pearls on the tomatoes and plantains. And then, Words. How? Had Words just moved into the neighbourhood? That's crazy, said Sentences. Haha, said Words. I live just one stop away, and points. This might sound impetuous, said Sentences, but...
Ο Πρότασης ξεροσταλιάζει κατά το φως του ψιλικατζίδικου. Η βροχή νωρίτερα σχημάτισε μαργαριτάρια στις ντομάτες, στις μπανάνες και μετά λέξεις. Μα πώς? Μήπως οι λέξεις μετακόμισες στη γειτονιά? Α, είπε η λέξη, ζω εδώ πιο κάτω, στάση και δείχνει με το δάχτυλο. Αυτό μπορεί να ακουστεί παρορμητικό, είπε ο Πρότασης, αλλά what if we walk the city? Words said nothing, then nodded, why not?
The trouble with being airborne is that being small, Sentences was at the mercy of Words, and clearly Words were getting utterly carried away with themselves in the air. Okay, so that cliff, the one with the slate pale water, was the paragraph she was trying to think of the right way to say it, to phrase it. That day on the river, he was steering the boat in. She was married. It would never work. He kept telling himself it wasn't right to say anything, but if he didn't, he could never forgive himself. They'd known each other since they were kids, the heat rising off the pine needles, playing chase, until their throats were sore with laughing and their arms hurt.
Now it was 6 years too late. She had a comment. 2 years in New York, and what about him? All he had was a half-empty fridge and an ad campaign for microwavable goose cakes. Who even eats a goose cake? How do you even turn a goose into a cake?
Wakey, wakey, time for goose cakey, he had to admit. It was a fucking abysmal tagline. Maybe it was a start, but he had been previously thinking before he was so rudely interrupted by this apparently incredibly and ridiculously overly detailed backstory that she was married and he should say nothing. And if he did say anything, he would never forgive himself. It started to rain. He said, Jemima, I love you. She had pretended not to hear. Now it was too late. The secondment was ending, and the marriage was something that her engineer husband had said in his own words. He had decided to, quote-unquote, sundown now. The paragraph had to start somehow. Jemima looked at her packed suitcase, then back at the screen. She switched it to the blue panda colour of night mode so as not to distract herself. Dear James, she typed. The paragraph started to spin out onto the page. The letters she drew out of her pocket rolled out of the tips of her fingers, at first nearly out of control, then levelling out as the words came into land, white on black. And then there it was, in black and white. I land next week. In case this doesn't reach you, I walk past Universal Stores off Blakenham Avenue. I know you love that place. Maybe if I catch you there, we could go for a walk, start over.
Γράφουμε
These are the codes. Γράφουμε
λέξεις
λέξεις
μεταμεσονύκτιες.
Μέσα μεταμύχθης.
Μεταμεσονύκτιες.
Μέσα μεταμύχθης.
We have all evening. Νησταγμένες. Νησταγμένες. Ίσως.
Ίσως.
Αλλά θαραλές.
Θαραλές.
Ιστρογόνες.
Ιστρογόνες.
Και ορμητικές.
Και ορμητικές.
We write midnight words. Sleepy perhaps, but courageous. Estrogenic, estrogenous, and impetuous.
Impetuous.
Impetuous. Thank you.